The first of the three goddesses descend. Hello, Stacia. Hey everyone, Templar74 here with another video, and today's video is going to be my review on the latest episode of Sword Art Online, Alicization War of Underworld, Episode 9, Sword and Fists. And I gotta be honest with you guys, this episode was friggin' beautiful. We got to see the long-awaited descent of Stacia into the Underworld here to turn the tide of the battle. We got an updated opening. We had a lot of things going on. We even dealt a little bit into the backstory of Integrity Knight Shastia, and we got to see the beginning of her and Ishikan's unique, how should I put this, relationship? But we'll talk about all that soon enough. So at risk of further rambling, let's move on to the actual episode. So first I'm going to talk about the obvious, because it's at the very beginning of the episode, the updated opening. They didn't get rid of resolution, but rather they updated some scenes in the opening, because there was this big speculation when the episode preview came out, or the episode information came out rather, that they were going to change out the opening with something new, and resolution by Asuna's voice actress was going to go away. That didn't happen. Turns out they just updated some clips in the opening, not the least of which are some new scene fighting and the descent of the three goddesses of the human empire, Stacia, aka Asuna, Solus, aka Sinon, and Terata, aka Leafia. So we get to see these three and what they're going to look like when they dive into the Underworld, and we see them actually partake in the fight, in the War of the Underworld. We see Asuna, or Stacia rather, fighting with Alice. We see Sinon and Leafia begin their descents into the Underworld. So the opening, although it wasn't changed, the scenes were redone, and it just looks beautiful. It's well animated, and I can't wait to see Sinon and Leafia dig in and get into the fight too alongside Asuna. That's going to come soon enough here. Now that Stacia is in the Underworld and has been revealed to everybody, the story I feel is going to pick up really quickly, because that's how the light novels work. I was worried a little bit that these were becoming a little bit slow, but now that Asuna/Stacia is here, I don't think that's going to happen. Things are probably going to pick up pretty quickly if it follows the light novels the way that it has in the past. But with that aside, though, anyway, that was pretty much the updates to the opening. Like I said, didn't change the music, but these new scenes were just friggin' beautiful, man. I can't wait to see this trio go in and fight for the human empire, fight to save the Underworld and to save Kirito. But, hey, gotta calm down that hype. It'll come soon enough. But, so after the opening, we see Vecta issue his order to his army, and his entire army's order is basically apprehend Alice unharmed, and it'll be led by the Puglists, and yeah, it's going to be supported by the Dark Mages and the Dark Territory Army Supply Corps. So Puglists are going to take the lead here, and as they advance to go after Alice, even Broccoli's like, he seems really interested in you, he's sending the entire army after you, and Alice says, well, this is a blessing, but at the same time, we got to do something about these guys. And that's when Shasta, Integrity Knight Shasta, arrives, and she says, I'll go. She's very cold about it, she's very distant about it, but ultimately Broccoli and Alice don't do anything to stop her as Shasta goes out to confront the Puglists and the advancing army here. And as Ishkan is advancing, he notices Shasta just standing there and actually halts his advance, and he demands to know from Shasta, just what are you doing? And that's when she proclaims, I'm here to stop you. And it's at this point he's kind of laughing it off. He's like, you cannot be serious, because at this point, Ishkan doesn't truly believe this is an Integrity Knight. I mean, she does look the part, but Integrity Knights are crazy powerful, and he just doesn't believe that Shasta would be this stupid to do it. But ultimately, he decides, all right then, I will take you down, and he sends his men to go after Shasta. However, Shasta just slices one of the Puglists, and this is where it's interesting here, because we learn from Broccoli that the Puglists have trained themselves to be unaffected by blades. They will not allow themselves to be slashed with a sword, and their willpower is so strong that they cannot be slashed. However, Shasta manages to pull this off and even cuts off her attacker's arm, and this just kind of stuns the Puglists there, and ultimately Ishkan decides, okay, I've had enough of you, I'm going to fight you. And these two actually end up dueling for most of the episode. These two end up going at it. They charge blows at one another. Ishkan keeps fighting, and all Shasta is able to do is just lightly cut him. But even then, Ishkan is very impressed with this, that a woman like her would be able to do that to him. And it's also during this battle that we learn a little bit about Shasta. Not a whole lot, because even Broccoli admits, I've known her for over 100 years, but yet nobody really knows anything about her. And then we go back to her encounter with the Pontifex Administrator, and we learn that she recovered this flower during her mission in the Dark Territory, and Administrator turned it into her divine object, a spear-like blade. It's not a regular sword. It's kind of more like a spear. And basically, Queen Ella gives this to her and says, go and slash till your heart contend, because ultimately she kind of harbors a menacing and murderous intent, Shasta does, below the surface. And Administrator doesn't look down on her on this and is not condemning this, just basically gives her this weapon and says, go on and slash until your heart contend. This sword represents the curse, and maybe fighting with this sword, the curse that you carry will be broken. Maybe. So that's all we really learn about Shasta's backstory, is that she's carrying this curse and she has a deep desire to slash everything in her path, and she's doing this now. She's slashing these puglets one after another, and even inflicting blows on their 10th champion, Ishkan, which is kind of impressing to him, and even he has to admit that he's impressed with this woman. And even as he says that, Shasta's like, would you stop referring to me as a woman? Even though her armor's been completely destroyed, she's clearly feminine, she refuses to be talked to as a woman, kind of the feminist here of Shasta. And then Ishkan's like, okay, fair enough. What do I call you? Grandmother? You're old enough to be my grandmother. And that's when Shasta says, because you fought so well, I will allow it. And Ishkan kind of takes this as an insult, if you will. And it's at this time Shasta does a forced withdrawal, and as she's taking off with her dragon, Ishkan demands to know the name of this woman that's getting the best of him, and she just repeats her name, Shasta Census 12, as she's carried away. And it's kind of going to be the spark between these two, because like I said in the monologue of this video, these two do share a quote-unquote relationship in the light novel. It doesn't happen till a bit later on, but yes, there is a connection between these two that will ultimately be dove into later, hopefully. But while most of the episode revolved around Shasta and Ishkan, it wasn't the entirety of the episode. The other part of the episode revolved around Dark Knight Vazago and his PKing. See, while the battle between Shasta and Ishkan is going on, Vazago decides that him and Emperor Vecta need to get more hands-on. They need to get part of the battle themselves. And Emperor Vecta just says, go on, have fun PKing. And that's what Vazago does. He sneaks behind the enemy lines and starts PKing everybody that he can find in the Human Guardian army. Even in spite of Renly and Bercoli's plan to set up an ambush in the wooded area, Vazago just goes around them and starts PKing, and he ultimately finds his way to the supply corps of the Human Guardian army, and he attempts to go after Rioni, who comes out of one of the wagons, but she senses him thanks in help to her senpai Kirito, and she detects him and gives away his position, and he's kind of shocked by this, that he was found out. And that's when he reveals he set up an ambush for the ambush of Dark Knights there, and just as the Dark Knights are getting ready to attack the Supply Corps and Rioni and everybody else there, it happens, everybody. The sky lights up and Lady Stacia appears, and the music that accompanies the arrival of Lady Stacia is just divine. Fitting, but that's a good description of it. Just divine. As the light image of Stacia reveals itself, Stacia creates a ravine, which all these Dark Knights fall into, including Vazago, and she actually strikes fear in everybody that's watching this, including Alice and Renly, who are hurrying to the Supply Corps to try to back up this enemy, or back up their friends against this enemy, rather, and they're just watching this in the sky in complete awe. And as Vazago is falling down this ravine that was created by Stacia, he looks up and recognizes Stacia as the one and only Knight of the Blood Order, Lightning Flash, aka Asuna, as he's falling to his death. And ultimately that's when Asuna gets revealed as Stacia for the first time to all of us, and that's where the episode leaves off. So like I said, everybody, this episode was a great episode. It was freaking beautiful. Had a hard time finding anything to complain about it. Again, the pace was starting to slow down in War of the Underworld, but now that Stacia has arrived, it's going to pick up real quickly, in my opinion, just based off the light novels. But the anime handled this extremely well. I was extremely pleased. The music was fitting. The changes to the opening were just beautiful. I can't wait for more, in my opinion. Overall, I give this episode a 9 out of 10. It was a great episode, a lot of great things to be said, and truly an episode to watch, in my opinion. But, as always, in the comment section down below, let me know what your guys' thoughts were about this week's episode. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Did you think it was just there? What was your favorite part? Just let me know in the comment section down below, because, as always, I enjoy hearing from you. Alright, everyone, as always, Templar74 signing off. Have a great day, everybody, and I'll talk to you all next time. Goodbye, everybody.